be seeing a sequel to Sin City coming up pretty soon. Yeah. That movie the original broke a lot of ground in about 2005 with the style that kind of brought a graphic novel to life on the screen and combined live action with that. How are you going to push that medium forward in the sequel? Describe a little bit about what we're going to be seeing that might either advance it or just live in that same world that we're used to with the first one.
We want to be in the same world, but even Frank Miller drew his books all different styles. Some of them were more abstract than others. And I kind of held back on some of the abstract qualities. As much as it's hard to believe as it is, but if you really looked at the books, you look at the film was more like a medium step in between, because I didn't know how much the audience could take back then. Obviously, they loved it a lot, so we get to push it much further this time and go more towards the books. And then I also shot it in 3D, so it's digital 3D, and it's really cool to see that world, be immersed in that world. I mean, you feel the 3D almost works better with that sort of abstract black and white, because you feel the spatial distances more. You look at it and you feel like, if you look down, you would expect your arm to be black and white. That's how immersed you feel in that world.
That technology moves so quickly, and 2005 seems like ancient history in some respects. Yeah. Any new techniques that you're using for the film besides the 3D that we might be seeing on screen?
Just really how to render things to look more the way the abstract quality of a pen and ink that Frank Miller would do comes across, less like a movie and more like in between the comic and the movie. So I think it's really something that when you see it, you'll get that it's pushed further. And if you compare it to the first film, you'll see how far it's pushed.
The story is obviously the way they live on their own as almost an anthology, but also intertwine as well. How many characters are we balancing in this new glimpse of the world?
There's a huge cast. And the reason I put 3 stories in, those are just some of my favorite stories. I didn't want to wait for a sequel. What if the first one wasn't successful? I thought I want to do all 3 in the first movie, and unfortunately, there's just other books. So A Dame to Kill For was the biggest, most sprawling of his books that we weren't able to fit into the first film. So that's the basis of this one, and then 2 new stories and 1 other short story that Frank did.